Well, thank you for joining us today. Today I'm here with Kejuan Donahue. We're continuing our, I guess you'd say, series on basically just trying to have some conversations with some of our firefighters and get to know them a little better, let the department get to know them, but also using it, as kind of a recruitment tool to help people get to know our firefighters, see how they came into the fire service, and see some of the things that motivate them and hear about some of their experiences as a firefighter. So, Kejuan, thank you very much for joining me today. We'll just get started. You and I've met a few times. We haven't really worked together too much on a daily basis. We've been on some committees and things. So, just tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from Danville, Virginia. It's in South Central Virginia. Probably about the size of, say, Petersburg. Petersburg.
So, what was life like in Danville growing up for you?
Danville has always been a textile community, a hard-working community, a school of one, a town of one high school. People tend to know each other, or someone that knows someone around the city. Would say a close-knit community. It's just pretty much it's a small town.
So, what did you growing up? What was like? Tell me a little bit about your parents. What were they? They from Danville? What did they do for a living?
My dad was a truck driver, and my mom, she worked in the dry cleaners for 30 years. She also worked as a crossing guard for the Danville Police Department, and just hard workers overall. Growing up.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do have my brother, he passed away a couple years ago, and my sister, she lives down in Danville now.
Okay. So high school, like what were you into? You play sports?
Yes,
or what kind of hobbies did you have?
I was all state in football. I ran track. I ran track later on in high school. Before then, I was did field events, discus and shot put. Played defensive end for George Washington, GW Danville. I have to put that out there. And went to the military after high school because I didn't necessarily have the grades.
What branch?
I went to the Army from 2001 to the end of 2005. And then at that point, I got out and settled into the Petersburg area.
So you were during the Iraqi War then? What was that like for you?
I guess to go back, I can't say that my mindset was to join the military at the time. I just kind of ended up in the military and I enjoyed it because I didn't really know what I was going to do after school. And I remember my recruiter coming in and with my MOS of Civil Affairs, and my recruiter's like, don't worry, you're ready to go to college and everything is going to be great and you're not going to, I don't see a mission across seas for Civil Affairs. And I'm not sure how much he knew at the time, but I remember going into my unit and my first sergeant asking me, are you ready to deploy? And that was...
What time of year in 2001 did you join?
This was December 10th, 2001. I was here at the MEPS in
So that was after 9/11. So you had to have probably had an idea that maybe things were going to change at that point.
9/11, I remember very very vividly. I remember looking at the towers and watching, primarily firefighters, because I always wanted to be a firefighter. Something that's always, even at 37 now, even going back home, people remember me as the kid that I always wanted to be the firefighter. And I remember looking at the towers, and all I could think about was the first responders and the firefighters in the building. That's what I saw.
So let's back up for a second. You just said that people thought of you as the one that always wanted to be a firefighter.
Oh yeah,
that was always a dream of yours.
That's always been.
Were you a volunteer, or where did you get that desire to be a firefighter?
That's interesting because my mom's friends, her girlfriends, they always just like, hey, he was destined to be a firefighter. As crazy as that may sound. I don't know. I don't have family members that's in the fire service. It's just something that I've always wanted to do. My mom would tell a story even today that she remembers. She was driving in a car and she called it the fire wagon. For back then, she's like, the fire wagon went by, and she said, I remember you making this sound. And she said, I didn't know what was going on. You were in the back seat, and you pretty much just were trying to look out the window. And the fire service has always been something I've always made my way no matter where I've been. When I was stationed at Fort Hood, I found a local fire department in Killeen and Harker Heights and volunteered there in the combination department. When I got back to the area, I found Dinwiddie Fire and Hopewell and Southside Virginia Emergency Crew. I've always found my way back to public safety somewhere, no matter where I go, no matter what my primary job is. So I've always wanted to do it, and I enjoy doing it.
So we'll go back to 2001. So you joined the military. So then, what was that experience like? Did you end up deploying?
Yeah, I deployed twice. I got out of basic training. 3 months later, I deployed to Afghanistan. Came back and went on active duty. I deployed as a reservist, went on active duty, and then deployed again when I went to Fort Hood.
And so you do your time in the military, and you mentioned you were volunteering and kind of, being in the fire service, participating in the fire service. And then what was your first career job in the fire service? My first career job was in Hopewell, city of Hopewell. I got hired by Hopewell Fire in 2009. I was a firefighter from 2009 till 2013, and right at the end of 2013, I got promoted to captain with Hopewell Fire, and I was there until I guess 2019, maybe 19 when I came here. So what was Hopewell like? I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of time. How was your time there in Hopewell? I mean, it sounds like you were doing pretty well. Got promoted. Is that captain kind of the first step up in Hopewell? Like, is there a lieutenant rank? Or
there on the books. There's a lieutenant rank, but they haven't filled that position. It's just pretty much you're kind of right in the middle of you're doing all the lieutenant stuff, but at the same time you could sit in the position of battalion chief when the battalion chief's off. So you kind of got a mix of everything. So
as a captain,
yes. Yeah.
So tell me more about that. What was that experience like for you? What did you learn? What did you see? A lot of fire? Or?
I saw. I mean, Hopewell's 11.3 square miles. It's unique.
A lot of industry, right?
Industry. I laugh because a lot of people haven't actually ventured into Hopewell. They just assume what they and they you cross the bridge, and the truth of the matter is you have everything everything cramped into 11.3 square miles, where you got high, you have $500,000 houses, to heavy industry interface, to subsidized housing areas. So you have it all. You have a stretch of 295 in there as well, a mile of 295 in there as well that you covered.
And a river.
And a river, yeah. So I think that you have the ability to see a little bit of everything. In staffing, you didn't have nearly as many people as we have here. So literally, you could be at a structure fire, clear up there, or 3 people get in a unit and go back down to the station and pick up the fireboat to get on the river to go pretty much tow somebody back or find someone. It was really a dynamic experience. It was from an experience standpoint, it was a good place to work. That's what I found.
What about obviously you were a supervisor. How was that? Was that your first supervisory experience, or?
I was a sergeant in the military, but in the civilian world, and it's a big difference in the military, being an NCO versus coming to the civilian world and thinking some of those things correlate. Others don't really correlate as well. And
even in a paramilitary organization. Right?
That's questionable. But for me, the experience in leadership in Hopewell, it was some challenges. It was a lot of wins, I will say. A lot of my people were great. You know, the people that I and I like to look at leadership as, you know, you serve your people. That's how I looked at it. I took, you know, in that middle level management, I align myself with the organization, but I need to serve my people and take care of them. And taking care of them means helping and training them, getting them to wherever they want to be to promote the side of the organization. So on that side, I had really, really good people that you know were about, you know, service.
Mm-hmm. So Richmond kind of was the first department in the area to really look at hiring laterals, mm-hmm. which for a lot of career firefighters, that's moving to a new department as a deterrent in a lot of ways, because you don't want to have to start over, you know, especially go through a full academy, those kinds of things. So that opportunity obviously came up for you. But you had, you know, for a firefighter, to me, it kind of makes sense, but for someone like you who was already spent 9 years, you've been promoted, you're really established in an organization, what went into your decision to leave there and come to Richmond?
Well, it was a couple things, and like I said, the people that my crews and the people that were assigned to me were great. I will say that when I came to Richmond, and I came in a part-time capacity at first, mm-hmm. and I remember I was driving the box truck over at Engine 14, and a gentleman came out, and he hadn't met me. He was a Richmond. He was a Richmond firefighter, and he said, "Hey, you know, you need to come over here. Where you work?" I said, "I'm a captain in Hopewell, Virginia." He's like, "Man, we need guys like you over here, man. You over here working hard." And when he said that, it was something that that little compliment, it started to break away something that I didn't know that I was missing, because, like I said, my people were good, but from the other half that I had to serve wasn't necessarily good, you know. Wasn't necessarily good. And
so a lot of fire departments are not as diverse as our fire department. Right. Is that kind of did some of that go into it? Is that what you're talking about? Did you have some negative experiences related to race?
Yes, I had some negative experiences related to race over my time as a firefighter, and I can tell you that I was told that I got promoted because I was black. You know, that came. You know, it didn't matter that I finished number one on the test, which I did. It didn't matter that I got the highest interview, because I did. It didn't matter that if you looked at my disciplinary, you look at my personnel file, it had nothing but firefighter of the year and accolades and training in it. It had no disciplinary action. None of that mattered. It just mattered, you know, because of that lack of diversity. I felt that it was, I felt like I was kind of an odd man out once the leadership shifted, you know.
And it's a hard thing to live up to, you know. Certainly I have seen and experienced myself similar situations, and it places some pressure on you, because you feel like you're being held to a higher standard. You feel pressure to prove to people that you do deserve the position, and that, you know, your decisions are going to be scrutinized more than someone else's.
Right.
And so that's a hard thing to deal with sometimes. How did you? But obviously you did well. How did you reconcile that, or what motivated you to push through that?
I guess the biggest, I think when the fire service, because we call it the paramilitary organization. I call it the poison of the paramilitary organization from the standpoint that in the military, a lot of times you're told to shut up and follow orders. Mm-hmm. You're told to be quiet. And if we mimicked, the military, that's what people would do. And I got to the point where I could no longer simulate. I had to be me, because a lot of times I was carrying that that weight on or off duty. I understand being a good citizen, but I was carrying a lot of that stuff with me, and I think I guess the way I overcame it is I just looked at the people first. I honestly had a thought process that everything is going to be okay, and then I saw the reality. It was some things that occurred that I was like, maybe it's not going to be okay. And the Richmond, I looked around, like I said, working part time over here, and I looked around at the different, just great. I felt a great department, and I think Richmond is a great department because if you haven't been anywhere, if you only been in Richmond, you have no idea how good it really, really is compared to other places. And when I got here, I just I love it. I love being here. It really, like I told you, as a little boy, this was a dream of mine. And if the Lord called me home today, I can say I lived my dream. But I think that my things were becoming a little darker in my previous place, and when I got to Richmond, everything was restored. I will say that it gave me a new lease on living that dream and maximizing it. So that's how I guess that's how I would say that coming to Richmond was how I got it.
And that's when you look at like diverse organizations, it's one thing to say that you are diverse and you have the numbers of that fit into categories of diversity, but then there's the whole idea of inclusion, right, which is a whole different concept, which means not only are you diverse, but are the different groups of people able to be themselves, and there's this concept of like bringing your whole self to work. It sounds like maybe in your old organization you weren't really able to do that, and it sounds like now you are, maybe, right, and I think that's really a really good thing and probably refreshing, and something that I think we strive for as an organization is to embrace that no matter who you are. But how do you see yourself now that you've been here? You said you feel better, a new lease on your department. How has that changed, or how has that affected what your goals are within our organization?
Pretty much when I said I wanted to be a battalion chief by the time I retire. That's been my goal ever since. That was even the goal with the previous department, and that's just my goal. Period. And coming to Richmond, for me, you're around people. That's not even something that I don't have that pressure anymore. I look to my left and I look to my right, and you see people that you can go talk to, and you don't have. It's not necessarily you're not looking for validation. If that makes sense. In the past you're looking for validation, and Richmond, for me, from day one, I got assigned to Engine 22 A shift, and I remember it was interesting because I went from being a captain to being a rookie, and I remember Captain Neville was my captain, and I said,
Hallie Neville,
yes. I kind of went back into this regressive mode where it's like, let me stay right here with I'm looking at everybody else move, and she came to me, she said, Donahue, you know what you're doing, so do it. And that was just so empowering to me. It just right away, being able to join the team. They also, if things were decisions to be made on things, she would ask, whether it be around the firehouse, she would ask, hey, what do you think about this? That's something that I got an orange helmet on. Yeah, I got an orange helmet on. I remember when I went to Truck 8, they'd asked around who wanted to transfer, and I was still an orange helmet, and they're like, well, I said, well, no, you don't say no as a rookie. You could have said no. I said, the fact that, I said, that's amazing to me, because that's not how I was raised because of my previous experience, but just to be able to sit at a table and be on committees, I was on the high-rise committee, and being able to bring your knowledge, skills, and experiences to the table and be heard and contribute to the organization. For me, that's all I've ever wanted to do, is be able to contribute to the organization, no matter what I'm a part of. It's not about being in the limelight, it's about being able to be a contributor. And Richmond, from the time I left the academy, I've been able to find a way. They give you opportunities. Richmond gives you opportunities to contribute to the organization, and they welcome it. And that's one of the biggest things that I found here that I love. You can be as actively engaged in things as much as you want to.
So talk a little bit, if you could, about, there's this popular book, I think it used to even be like a required reading when we first got promoted, that Buddy to Boss, right? Mm-hmm. That idea of, you're one of the guys, but now you're a supervisor, so you have to have sort of you have to act like a supervisor, but, you went from boss to buddy. What is that like, being in charge of a crew and then having to take a step back, and now you're just the firefighter again? How has that transition been for you? I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier in terms of fireground, but is it been difficult, refreshing?
It's interesting because you ask a lot of questions, and sometimes questions can come across the wrong way, and it's what were we trying to do here? And because people know where your previous experience, it's like. But a lot of times, those things that you learned in those positions, you still see them from the standpoint of the boss. I don't necessarily tell people what to do, but I can see, I kind of get that. I still keep that big picture thought process, and it's just been, for me, it's been a lot of it's because of my crew. They know that. What my background was coming in the door, and they'll joke on me sometimes because I'll give the politically correct answer about something. Like, no, we want the. I said, I'm sorry. That's what I default to. It's like I default to, and but I just for me, it's been an easy. The transition has been, for me, so easy. I had a good place, really good officers. Really good officers that welcomed me, and pretty much helped me. Didn't tell me to suppress those thoughts as related to your experience. Bring those things to the table. Utilize those tools.
Yeah, and a good leader, I think, is going to recognize that you have something to give. It's like having an extra perspective you might not normally have, because you don't often get someone that has officer experience that's a firefighter for you. Maybe sometimes if they've been an officer in a career or volunteer department or something, but still it's not a day-to-day kind of the same things, the challenges that are involved with career officers. So it's good that they have valued that and let you contribute in that way, and let you maybe keep those skills, because it sounds like maybe you want to use them again one day.
So,
how has the difference been? I mean, you described Hopewell a little bit, and in a lot of ways it sounds like Richmond, maybe with the exception of some, the amount of high rise that we had. But how's that transition in terms of work environment been, or the call texture? How has that how has that been for you? You know, the fire, or has it been similar to what you experienced already?
No.
Or
No, it's night and day. Just a mere amount of resources that we're able to put on the fire ground is something that was probably the biggest. I didn't understand. I was like, wow, this is a lot of people. I just didn't understand it when you were running. When I was used to running with 12 to 14 people, including a secluded battalion chief
for a whole working fire.
For a whole working fire, I think the least I can say that least amount of people I done had to fight fire for was 7, and that was so. That was, like I said, night and day. You know, night and day. I will say that taking all pieces of puzzle, Hopewell helped me kind of think outside the box when it came, because you had to be creative.
Yeah.
Richmond has the resources, the standards in place so that you can level up, as I say, in your fire service career. You know,
but you know, those are good skills to have. I mean, I've told people a lot, you know, that there's a lot of aspects to this job, but one of the biggest things that we are is problem solvers. Mm-hmm. You know, you never know what you know. You may get called for something, and it may come in as it could come in as anything, and then you show up and it's something totally different, totally unexpected. Because generally, if people don't know what to do, then they call the fire department, and then we are the first ones there trying to assess the situation, figure out how to handle it. Like you said, fortunately in Richmond we normally have a lot of resources, and so I can see where that would be really challenging to encounter some of those same kinds of puzzles with a lot less tools to at your disposal. Right. So it sounds like that was a valuable experience, but I'm glad that you've been able to experience Richmond as well. It sounds like maybe it's a little bit easier.
Oh, it is
but different. You know, it's still challenging, but in different ways, I guess.
Right. Well, Richmond, I'll tell you, probably the biggest piece of Richmond that I probably learned was it's like going, and it's not in a bad way. It's like going from, say, a smaller conference in sports, like a small conference in sports, to the SEC, one of the fastest conferences in college sports. Richmond is fast. Richmond is an aggressive department. I will say that you hit the ground running. That was probably the biggest piece of it, I think, because and as an officer before, I set the tone kind of for, it's like, they got an orchestra, here. Like, no, you hitting the ground running, and we're aggressive, and we're gonna get after it, and we're gonna get the fire out. We're gonna get to we're gonna solve the problem as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. So I will say that was a big learning curve for me. Like, wow, they are fast. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. It's good to get to know you a little bit better. I'm happy that you've been able to achieve your dream. We're certainly happy to have you here in Richmond, and certainly wishing you success on some of your other aspirations. And just thank you again for taking time to talk with me today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Kejuan.